Let's be honest, we've all had that moment where a boss wipes the floor with us so hard we contemplate retiring from gaming forever. It's that toxic cycle of just one more try, followed by a 30-minute lecture from a loading screen about our own failures. But why do we keep coming back to these digital torture chambers? Is it the thrill of the hunt, or are we just gluttons for punishment? Today we're diving into the titles that separate the casual players from the truly dedicated. Let's see if your controller survives this list of games that simply aren't meant to be beaten by everyone. Ever wanted to feel like a legendary kung fu master, only to realize you have the reflexes of a confused sloth? Sifu is a brutal, uncompromising lesson in discipline where every mistake literally takes years off your life. The aging mechanic is a stroke of genius and a massive gut punch because while you technically get stronger with age, your health bar shrinks, turning every encounter into a high-stakes dance with death. It's not just about mashing buttons, it's about learning the painful rhythm of the fight. The combat system is incredibly deep, demanding that you master parries, dodges, and environmental awareness just to survive a simple hallway of low-level thugs. You'll find yourself replaying levels dozens of times, obsessing over a perfect run just to stay young enough to face the final boss. It's frustrating, sure, but the flow state you hit when you finally clear a room without a scratch, that's pure, unadulterated dopamine. You start to see the world in frames and hitboxes, realizing that greed is your biggest enemy. Think you can reach the end before you're an 80-year-old man with a grudge? Most people won't, and that's the beauty of it. Sifu doesn't care about your feelings, it cares about your form. It's a tight, focused masterpiece that rewards mastery and punishes sloppiness with a ruthless efficiency. If you're looking for a game that respects your time by demanding your absolute best, this is it. It's the ultimate get-good simulator, wrapped in a stylish, neon-soaked revenge story that refuses to blink first. What if Pinocchio went through a goth phase and decided to dismantle a city full of murderous puppets? Lies of P is far more than just a Souls-like clone. It's a refined atmospheric nightmare that pushes the boundaries of the genre. The parry-heavy combat requires frame-perfect timing that will leave your heart racing and your palms sweating. And here's where it gets interesting. The lying system actually shifts the narrative, adding a layer of psychological depth to the carnage. You aren't just fighting for survival, you're fighting for your soul. The weapon assembly system is a tinkerer's dream, allowing you to combine blades and handles to find the perfect balance of speed and power. You'll need every advantage you can get, because the bosses here are legendary for their multi-phase transitions that turn a victory lap into a sudden funeral. The world of Krat is hauntingly beautiful, but don't let the Victorian aesthetics distract you from the fact that a giant mechanical clown wants to turn your ribs into confetti. The difficulty spike in the latter half of the game is notorious, acting as a gatekeeper for anyone who hasn't mastered the perfect guard. It's a game about the cost of humanity, told through the lens of crushing difficulty and stellar art direction. You'll die, you'll lie, and you'll probably yell at your TV more than once. But for those who stick it out, Lies of P offers one of the most satisfying combat loops in years. It's a polished, high-fidelity challenge that proves you don't need to be from a specific studio to craft a world that is both inviting and terrifyingly lethal. Just remember, in this world, even the truth can hurt as much as a jagged blade. Imagine the chaotic energy of the Three Kingdoms era, mixed with supernatural demons and a parry system that feels like a high-speed rhythm game. Wolong Fallen Dynasty is Team Ninja doing what they do best, creating combat that is blisteringly fast and intensely rewarding. The morale system adds a fascinating layer of strategy, where your power level fluctuates based on your performance and exploration. Ever felt the dread of a boss becoming stronger just because they stepped on your face? You will here. The deflect mechanic is the heartbeat of the game, forcing you to stay aggressive and read enemy movements with surgical precision. It's a game that demands you stay in the pocket, staring down massive beasts and legendary generals without blinking. The elemental wizardry spells offer a great way to exploit enemy weaknesses, but they won't save you if your timing is off. It's a relentless test of focus that keeps the pressure on from the first encounter to the last. The first boss alone is a legendary filter that has caused thousands of players to request a refund. While it shares DNA with Neo, Wolong feels more streamlined and focused on the immediate thrill of the duel. The verticality of the levels and the sheer variety of loot keep the grind feeling fresh even when you're hitting a wall. It's a wild ride through a corrupted history that only the most patient players will ever see to the end. The satisfaction of a perfect parry followed by a devastating critical blow is unmatched. Are you ready to become a legend, or just another casualty in the mud of ancient China? Wait, a narrative-driven Sony exclusive on a hard-to-beat list? On grounded difficulty, this game transforms from a cinematic adventure into a harrowing survival horror experience that will break your spirit. Resources are so scarce that a single brick can feel more valuable than a pile of gold, and the AI is smart enough to flank you while you're fumbling with an empty pistol. You aren't just playing a character, you're feeling every ounce of their desperation, exhaustion, and simmering rage. The combat is visceral and uncomfortably realistic, making every encounter feel like a life or death struggle rather than a power fantasy. You have to weigh the cost of every bullet and every stealth takedown, knowing that one wrong move ends the run. The emotional weight of the story only adds to the tension, making the physical challenges feel even more personal. It's a masterclass in atmospheric pressure that refuses to let you breathe, forcing you to use every dirty trick in the book just to see the next cutscene. Beating this on the highest settings isn't just a test of skill, it's a test of mental endurance. The way enemies call out to each other and coordinate their searches makes you feel like hunted prey in a way few games achieve. It's a bleak, beautiful, and brutal journey that demands total immersion and a very thick skin. If you think you've played The Last of Us, try doing it when every shadow feels like a death sentence and every supply crate is empty. It's a grueling marathon that many start, but few have the stomach to finish. Surviving Silent Hill isn't just about dodging monsters, it's about navigating a psychological fog that wants to swallow you whole. This remake heightens the tension with a claustrophobic camera and combat that feels heavy, desperate, and intentionally clunky to reflect James's state of mind. Every resource you find feels like a temporary reprieve in a town that constantly finds new ways to mess with your head. You know that moment when the radio starts staticking and you realize you're completely lost? That's the game's baseline. The puzzles are cryptic, the atmosphere is suffocating, and the enemy designs are the stuff of actual nightmares. It's a game that beats you down emotionally just as much as it does physically, forcing you to confront themes of guilt and grief while being chased by a pyramid-headed manifestation of your own trauma. Managing your limited health and ammo becomes a frantic sub-game within the larger horror experience. It's a slow burn challenge that requires a different kind of fortitude than your typical action game. To see the true endings, you'll need to pay attention to the smallest details and make choices that aren't always obvious. It's not a game you simply finish, it's one you survive. The remake honors the original's punishing spirit while making the terror feel more immediate than ever. The boss fights are less about mastery and more about frantic survival, leaving you feeling drained rather than empowered. Only those who can stomach the darkness and the crushing loneliness of the town will ever find the answers hidden in the mist. If you like your combat fast, fluid, and covered in Plague Doctor aesthetics, Thymesia is going to be your new obsession or your new reason to buy a replacement controller. You play as Corvus, a character who can literally rip the plague weapons out of his enemies to use against them. The combat loop is built around a unique wounding system. You deal damage with your saber, but you have to use your claws to actually stop the enemies from healing. It's a frantic, exhausting tug-of-war that keeps you constantly on the offensive. The parry windows are tight, and the bosses are designed to punish anyone who tries to play passively. You'll need to master the art of the feather dodge to interrupt critical attacks, turning every fight into a high-stakes exchange of blows. The game is shorter than some of its peers, but it packs more challenge into its runtime than most AAA titles do in 50 hours. It's lean, mean, and incredibly focused on mechanical skill over everything else. There's no leveling your way out of a skill gap here. Thymesia doesn't hold your hand with excessive tutorials or easy modes. It expects you to learn the dance or die trying. The talent tree allows for some cool build variety, but at the end of the day, it comes down to your reflexes and your ability to read the tells of a mutated monstrosity. It's a dark, gritty indie gem that punches way above its weight class in terms of difficulty. For those who think they've mastered the art of the parry in other games, Corvus is waiting to prove you wrong in the most painful way possible. The one that started it all, rebuilt from the ground up to look breathtaking while it breaks your heart. Demon's Souls on PS5 is a visual masterpiece, but beneath that shiny coat of paint is the same uncompromising, archaic brutality that defined a generation. World Tendency is a mechanic that can literally make the game harder the more you die, which feels like the developers are actively trolling you for failing. It's a haunting journey through a kingdom where death is the only constant. The level design is famously cruel, with long stretches between checkpoints that turn every death into a significant loss of progress. You'll spend hours navigating the treacherous cliffs of the Shrine of Storms or the poison swamps of the Valley of Defilement, only to be sent back to the start by a single misstep. The bosses are puzzles as much as they are fights, requiring you to observe, adapt, and often exploit the environment to survive. It's a game of patience and observation, where rushing is the quickest way to the game over screen. Despite the modern look, the core rigidity of the Souls formula remains untouched, offering a pure experience that many modern players might find intolerable. There is a specific kind of dread that comes with carrying a massive amount of souls through a dark hallway, knowing a single trap could wipe them all out. It's this tension that makes the victory so sweet, if you can ever reach it. Demon's Souls remains the ultimate test of a gamer's resolve, proving that some classics are just as sharp as the day they were born. Welcome to Atropos, a planet where death is just a reset button and the scenery changes every time you breathe. Returnal is a high-octane bullet hell roguelike that demands perfect movement and even better luck. One bad room can end a 40-minute run, stripping you of your weapons and upgrades and sending you back to your crashed ship with nothing but your pistol and a bruised ego. It's a relentless cycle of empowerment and total loss that will keep you up until 3 a.m. The combat is a frantic blur of neon projectiles and lightning-fast dashes. You have to manage your adrenaline levels, which give you buffs as long as you don't get hit, creating a massive incentive to play perfectly. The boss fights are epic, multi-stage spectacles that fill the screen with thousands of glowing orbs, requiring you to weave through patterns like a professional weaver. And here's where it gets interesting. The story is just as fragmented and confusing as the world, leaving you desperate for answers that only another successful run can provide. Returnal is a game that respects your skill but has zero mercy for your mistakes. The permanent upgrades are few and far between, meaning you can't just grind your way to victory. You actually have to get better at the game. It's a psychological thriller wrapped in a sci-fi nightmare, and it's easily one of the most challenging experiences on the PS5. If you haven't thrown your controller yet, Atropos is waiting to give you another reason to try. It's an exhausting, exhilarating masterpiece that only the most dedicated will ever truly finish. The lands between are vast, beautiful, and absolutely teeming with things that want to erase you from existence. Elden Ring takes the Souls formula and opens it up, which somehow makes it even more intimidating. You aren't just stuck in a hallway, you're stuck on a continent full of demigods who can kill you from a mile away. The sheer scale of the challenge is enough to make most people quit before they even find a horse. It's a game of infinite possibilities and equally infinite ways to die. While you have the freedom to go somewhere else, if a boss is too tough, eventually you have to face the music. The later areas of the game, like Miquela's Halid Tree, are legendary for their difficulty, featuring enemies that could be bosses in any other game. The complexity of builds means you can be a tank, a wizard, or a naked guy with a club, but no matter what you choose, the game will find a way to counter you. It's a constant dialogue between the player and the developer usually gets the last word. The sense of discovery is unparalleled, but so is the sense of despair when you lose a mountain of runes to a stray dog. It's a game that rewards curiosity with terror and bravery with a face full of dragon fire. To beat Elden Ring is to conquer an entire world, a feat that takes hundreds of hours and a level of persistence that most humans simply don't possess. It's a cultural phenomenon for a reason. It's a mountain that everyone wants to climb, but only a fraction will ever reach the peak. What if Dark Souls had guns and procedural generation that actually mattered? Remnant SI is a shooter Souls that manages to be both highly accessible and incredibly punishing. The difficulty comes from the sheer unpredictability of its worlds. You never know if the next door leads to a treasure room or a boss that can teleport behind you and snap your neck. Playing solo is a true test of your build and your aim, as the game scales its threats to keep you on your toes. The archetype system allows for some incredible synergy, especially in co-op, but don't think having friends makes it easy. Friendly fire and shared resources mean you need actual teamwork to survive the more chaotic encounters. The bosses are mechanical puzzles that require you to manage adds, dodge area of effect attacks, and hit tiny weak points all at once. It's a sensory overload that demands split-second decision-making. You'll spend as much time in the menus tweaking your rings and traits as you do in the field. The secrets in this game are so well hidden that the community had to work together for months just to find some of them. It's a game designed for the obsessed, for those who want to peel back every layer of its corrupted dimensions. If you're looking for a challenge that changes every time you roll a new campaign, Remnant 2 is the gold standard. Just don't blame us when a giant tree man turns your squad into fertilizer. It's a loot-driven nightmare that rewards the bold and buries the reckless. Mortal Shell is a smaller, more intimate take on the Souls-like genre, but don't let its size fool you. It is incredibly dense and notoriously difficult. The standout mechanic here is hardening, which allows you to turn your body into stone at any moment to negate damage. It sounds like a cheat code, but mastering the timing of when to harden mid-swing is the difference between a glorious victory and a humiliating death. It's a slow, deliberate combat system that punishes anyone trying to play it like a standard hack and slash. You inhabit different shells, each with its own stats and backstories, essentially acting as your classes. If you get hit too hard, you're knocked out of your shell and have to scramble back in before a single hit kills you in your fragile human form. This creates moments of absolute panic that few other games can replicate. The world is a grim, rotting landscape that feels genuinely hostile, where even the basic enemies have enough reach and power to end your run in seconds. It's a game that demands you respect its pace. The upgrade system is cryptic, and the healing items are scarce, making every excursion into the unknown a gamble. Mortal Shell doesn't have the sprawling world of its inspirations, but it makes up for it with a focused, atmospheric experience that feels uniquely oppressive. It's a game for those who want a Souls experience that feels fresh and experimental. If you can handle the weight of the armor and the brutality of the world, there's a strange beauty to be found in its decay. Speed is your only friend in Ghostrunner 2, and even then, your friend is probably going to let you die. This is a first-person slasher where a single hit means instant death. It's a high-speed puzzle where you have to calculate your path through a room of armed guards while wall running, sliding, and deflecting bullets in mid-air. The additions of a motorcycle and more open areas only increase the scale of the potential disasters. It's a game that asks, how fast can you think while your life is on the line? The checkpoint system is generous, which is lucky because you're going to die hundreds if not thousands of times. The challenge isn't just about survival, it's about execution. You'll find yourself repeating the same 30-second combat encounter for 20 minutes until you nail the perfect sequence of moves. It's a rhythmic, violent ballet that requires muscle memory and nerves of steel. When you finally clear a room, you feel like a god, but the next room is always there to remind you that you're just a fragile cyborg in a dying world. The synthwave soundtrack keeps your heart rate high as you navigate the neon-soaked towers and desolate wastelands. Ghostrunner 2 pushes the one more try mentality to its absolute limit, making it one of the most addictive yet frustrating games on this list. It's a test of pure mechanical skill and spatial awareness that many will find too intense to handle. If you have the stomach for a game that moves at 200 miles per hour and never lets you blink, step into the shoes of the Ghostrunner. In a world full of fantasy-themed challenges, The Surge 2 brings the pain with industrial exoskeletons and high-tech limb chopping. The core of the game is its limb targeting system. If you want a specific piece of armor, you have to target that limb and rip it off the enemy. This adds a layer of tactical risk to every fight. Do you aim for the unarmored head for a quick kill, or the heavily armored arm because you want that sweet new chainsaw sword? It's a brilliant, bloody loop that keeps you engaged. The parry system in The Surge 2 is directional, requiring you to flick the analog stick in the direction of the incoming attack. It's incredibly satisfying to pull off, but devastating if you miss. The world of Jericho City is a sprawling, interconnected maze of shortcuts and secrets that rivals the best level design in the genre. It's a game that values aggression and precision, rewarding you with more energy the more you stay in the fight. But be warned, the enemies are just as fast and well-equipped as you are. The boss fights are massive mechanical nightmares that will test your ability to manage your stamina and your surroundings. It's a game that feels heavy and industrial, where every hit has a visceral impact that you can almost feel in your own bones. The Surge 2 is often overlooked in the Souls-like conversation, but it offers one of the most unique and challenging experiences out there. If you're tired of dragons and want to see what a futuristic apocalypse looks like, grab your exo rig and get ready to lose some limbs. Death is only the beginning in Dead Cells, but man, does it happen a lot. This roguelite platformer is a masterpiece of kinetic movement and punishing combat. You explore a sprawling, ever-changing castle, picking up weapons and skills that can range from a simple sword to a swarm of angry bees. The catch? When you die, you lose almost everything. The game is a constant gamble. Do you explore one more room for a potential upgrade, or do you head for the exit before a stray trap ends your run? The combat is snappy and incredibly responsive, making your failures feel like they're entirely your fault, which in a way is much more frustrating. As you progress, you'll unlock boss cells that increase the difficulty to absurd levels, adding new enemies and removing healing opportunities. Beating the game on 5 boss cells is a feat that only a tiny percentage of the player base will ever achieve. It requires a deep knowledge of every enemy type and a mastery of the game's lightning-fast parry and dodge mechanics. The beauty of Dead Cells is its variety. No 2 runs are the same, and the sheer number of weapon combinations is staggering. It's a game that encourages experimentation, but punishes hesitation. The pixel art is gorgeous, the humor is dark, and the gameplay loop is perhaps the most addictive thing on this list. It's a marathon of skill and luck that will keep you coming back for just one more run until the sun comes up. Are you ready to lose your head over and over again? Furi is a game that cuts out the fat and gives you exactly what you want. Boss fights, nothing but boss fights. It's a series of one-on-one duels that blend bullet hell segments with high-stakes swordplay. Each boss is a multi-phase ordeal that requires you to learn their patterns, respect their space, and react with millisecond precision. There are no levels to grind, no items to fetch, just you, your sword, and a series of increasingly impossible opponents standing between you and freedom. The controls are simple, but the execution is anything but. You have a dash, a parry, a slash, and a shot. That's it. Success depends entirely on your ability to read the screen and stay calm under pressure. The game's neon-soaked aesthetic and pulsing soundtrack create a trance-like experience that makes the intensity feel even more overwhelming. It's a pure test of skill that refuses to let you hide behind RPG mechanics or lucky drops. If you win, it's because you were better. If you lose, it's because you blinked. The difficulty curve in Furi is a vertical wall. By the time you reach the final few bosses, the screen is often completely filled with projectiles, while the boss teleports around you at light speed. It's an exhausting, exhilarating experience that leaves you breathless. For those who find standard action games too slow, Furi is the ultimate shot of adrenaline. It's a short game, but it's a journey that will stay with you long after the final parry. Are you the jailer, or are you the one who finally breaks the cycle? The Penitent One returns in a sequel that is even more beautiful and more brutal than the first. Blasphemous 2 is a Metroidvania soaked in religious iconography and Spanish Gothic horror. The platforming is tight, the world is interconnected, and the bosses are screen-filling monstrosities that will make you question your faith. The game introduces new weapons, each with its own skill tree, allowing for more combat variety but also requiring you to master different playstyles to survive specific encounters. The difficulty comes from the intricate enemy patterns and the environmental hazards that can end a run in an instant. Every screen is a potential death trap, and the guild system punishes you for dying by reducing your fervor and experience gains. You'll spend hours backtracking through hauntingly beautiful landscapes, solving cryptic puzzles, and fighting for every inch of progress. It's a game that values atmosphere and storytelling just as much as it does challenge, creating a world that feels lived in and deeply cursed. The combat is weighty and deliberate, emphasizing timing and positioning over button mashing. The pixel art is some of the best in the industry, turning every gruesome execution and boss transition into a work of dark art. Blasphemous 2 is a somber, challenging journey that rewards the patient and the observant. It's a game that isn't afraid to be weird, gross, and incredibly hard, making it a must-play for fans of the genre who want a challenge that feels truly unique. Can you carry the burden of the miracle one more time? What if the French Revolution was fought with steampunk automatons? Steelrising takes this wild premise and turns it into a challenging action RPG that feels like a mechanical ballet. You play as Aegis, a robotic bodyguard who must navigate the crumbling streets of Paris to stop a mad king's mechanical army. The combat is built around stamina management and elemental infusions, requiring you to carefully time your attacks and dodges to avoid being overwhelmed by the clanking monstrosities that roam the city. The game features a unique cooling mechanic, where you can instantly vent heat to recover stamina, but doing it too fast can freeze you in place. It's a risky, rewarding system that keeps the combat feeling dynamic. The world design is fantastic, capturing a sense of historical grandeur mixed with sci-fi decay. While it offers some accessibility options, playing it on the standard difficulty is a genuine challenge that requires a deep understanding of the enemy's mechanical patterns and your own limited resources. The bosses are towering feats of engineering that require you to find their weak points while dodging massive, sweeping attacks. Steelrising might not be as punishing as a traditional Souls game, but it still demands respect and precision. The story is an intriguing what-if scenario that keeps you pushing forward, even when the difficulty spikes. If you've ever wanted to be a clockwork assassin in the middle of a revolution, Aegis is your girl. It's a stylish, challenging adventure that offers a fresh perspective on the genre. The legend that may or may not exist, but whenever it arrives, we know it's going to destroy us. Silksong is the highly anticipated sequel to Hollow Knight, and it promises to be faster, more vertical, and even more challenging than its predecessor. You play as Hornet, a character who is much more agile than the original Knight, which means the enemies and bosses are going to be tuned to a much higher speed. The world of Farloom is a vast, silk-bound kingdom that is as beautiful as it is lethal. The original Hollow Knight was famous for its brutal boss rushes, and the notorious Path of Pain in Silksong looks set to continue that tradition. The combat is built around silk and tools, allowing for a more creative approach to encounters, but also requiring more complex inputs. You'll be soaring through the air, parrying attacks with your needle, and crafting gadgets on the fly. It's a game of precision platforming and relentless combat that will test the reflexes of even the most seasoned Metroidvania fans. The sense of scale and the depth of the lore are what make these games so special, but it's the difficulty that makes them legendary. To beat Silksong, you'll likely need to master every inch of its map and every nuance of Hornet's movement. It's a game that hasn't even come out yet, and it's already intimidating the community. We're all waiting to get our hearts broken by a bug with a needle, and honestly, we wouldn't have it any other way. It's the ultimate one-day challenge that we're all collectively dreading and craving. Sometimes difficulty isn't about a parry window, it's about sheer overwhelming scale. Space Marine 2 puts you in the middle of a Tyranid invasion, where the screen is literally covered in thousands of ravenous aliens. On the higher difficulties, this isn't just an action game, it's a desperate struggle for every square inch of ground. You have to balance your long-range shooting with brutal melee executions just to stay alive, using the game's health on kill mechanic to survive a literal tide of teeth and claws. The challenge comes from the relentless pressure. There is no cover, no hiding, and very little room for error. If you get bogged down by the smaller enemies, the larger warrior types will tear you apart in seconds. You need to be a master of target prioritization, knowing exactly when to use your abilities and when to save them for a desperate push. The co-op mode adds a layer of tactical depth, but it also means more enemies and even more chaos. It's a glorious, bloody test of your situational awareness and your trigger finger. The production value is off the charts, making you feel the weight of your power armor and the impact of every bolter round. But don't let the power fantasy fool you, the Emperor's finest can still die quite easily if you get cocky. Space Marine 2 is a masterclass in horde difficulty, proving that sometimes the hardest thing to beat is just a sheer number of enemies that refuses to stop coming. It's a loud, proud, and incredibly tough journey through the grim darkness of the far future. For the Emperor and for your own survival. Often called anime Dark Souls, Code Vein is a game that hides its brutal difficulty behind a stylish aesthetic and a deep blood code system. While you have an AI partner who can revive you once in a while, the game is more than capable of wiping you both out in a heartbeat. The bosses are fast, aggressive, and often come in pairs, forcing you to manage multiple threats while navigating small, precarious arenas. The combat is fluid but carries a weight that rewards careful stamina management and strategic ability use. The blood code system is the game's greatest strength and its biggest source of complexity. You can change your entire build on the fly, switching from a heavy tank to a glass cannon mage in the middle of a dungeon. This freedom is necessary because the game constantly throws challenges at you that require specific counters. The Cathedral of Sacred Blood is a level so complex and full of traps that it has become a meme in the community for how many players it has driven to frustration. It's a true test of your navigational skills and your patience. Despite the flashy visuals, the core experience is one of high-stakes survival. The story is a dramatic, emotional ride that gives you a reason to keep pushing through the pain, and the character creator is legendary for its depth. Code Vein is a perfect example of a game that looks inviting, but has teeth that can tear you apart if you're not careful. It's a unique, challenging entry in the genre that proves you can have both style and substance, and a lot of you died screens. Are you ready to embrace the thirst and conquer the Revenant's nightmare? Beating the games on this list isn't just about reaching the credits, it's about the sheer willpower required to keep going when everything feels impossible. These titles don't care about your ego, and they certainly won't lower the bar just because you've had a long day or a short temper. Mastering these challenges proves you have the persistence to overcome digital walls that most players will simply walk away from in frustration. It's a grueling marathon that separates the casual fans from those who truly live for the rush of a hard-earned final victory. Whether you're a parry god or just someone with a very high tolerance for pain, we want to hear your most legendary gaming horror stories. Which of these bosses made you want to retire for good, and which one finally gave you that ultimate I did it moment of glory? Don't forget to hit the like button if you survived this list, and subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive into gaming's most brutal worlds. There is always another mountain to climb, another beast to slay, and another controller-breaking challenge waiting just around the corner for you.